Hey, God, how do I forgive someone who hurts me over and over and over again? I know Jesus asks us to forgive 70 times 7. How is that humanly possible?
God, 70 times 7. 70 times 7. This is a hard number to imagine. Now, let's imagine that this ball represents one act of forgiveness. And then we're supposed to do it 70 times 7. This is a good question. I did promise a surprise for the guest. And to get us ready for that, I think we need to put on our hard hats.
Bring it on.
What do you think this is about? We've got to understand.
I know I'm into construction. But gee, I don't recognize you with your hat on.
All right. So one act of forgiveness, and we're ready to see 70 times 7 acts of forgiveness so we can understand what Christ has called us to do. Are you ready for this? All right.
Not really.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Nice. That's great.
Wow. It's raining forgiveness.
Whoa.
All right.
I think I can handle one act.
Can we see an instant replay? 1, 2, 3.
Nice. That's great.
Do we have any injuries?
Oh,
everybody okay? Okay, 70 times 7. Is this humanly possible? That's what she asked. Can we do this?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. No.
Well, that's a short answer.
Nope.
Could you expand, please?
That's why God gives us the Holy Spirit so that we're able to do the things He asks us to do. In and of ourselves, we wouldn't want to forgive one time.
But forgiving one time, and the question was when someone has harmed me over and over and over, and forgiving that one time, and how many layers there are to that one time. How can we do this?
It's only possible in the true sense when I recognize how much I have been forgiven by God.
Yes.
So much. And then I realize, my goodness, you know, I'm forgiven $1 million and somebody owes me 20 cents. You know, that's the kind of, in Matthew 18, Jesus talked about that.
Also, the idea is that you need to be in a state of forgiveness. In other words, 7 times 70 is an enormous
Well,
number.
look around, yeah.
So it isn't a matter of times. It's a state of being that you're in. Now, you know, you mentioned the fact that there are others outside the Christian world who are able to forgive, and that's not that forgiveness can't be experienced by non-believers, you know, who have the capacity to do so, but a state of being in forgiveness, being forgiven and giving it out. That's something that you have to enter into a relationship with God.
It's much different than just saying, because there's people I think that live in this the church culture and just say, well, I just forgot it, or I'm just going to forgive them. But they're still holding on. They're almost in that barbed wire we were talking about. The forgiveness, the 70 times 7 he's speaking of, has to come, once again, as you're saying, Esther, from the inside out. And it's one that's very difficult. So 70 times 7 is just constant, just continual.
Yeah, well, 7 is the perfect number. It's the complete number. That's why that's why Jesus picked that. He didn't say 8 times 80. He said 7 times 70 because in the Hebraic world, 7 is the number of completion. It's the number of wholeness. It's the
it's not just a big number. It's not just a lot of times to forgive.
It's forever.
It's always.
Always, right.
I mean, think about it. God doesn't want to give us a finish line. Okay, so every day, all right, you're at 470, and one more time, and then I'm off the hook. He wants us to be in that state, like you said, of always forgiving. And this number is so huge. And you think about it in a day, it is so huge, you'll never get there.
Well, how do we get to that state? I mean, you've said a little bit of this, the layers and all this, but how do we get to the state? You recognize that God has forgiven you, but then what? This seems impossible.
No, remember what I said before. Forgiveness is a decision. So you decide, you make a decision, you decide, I'm going to forgive that person, and then the feelings come back up. The anger comes back up, the resentment comes back up, and then you say to yourself, you know what? I dealt with that yesterday. I said I forgave him, and I can't suppress my feelings, but I address my feelings by going, we've been here already, and we're going to I've said I'm going to let it go, and I'm not going to act on those feelings. The feelings will eventually dissipate, but you've decided already. You've made that decision. I'm going to let go of this.
So acting on the decision again and again is the state of being you're talking about,
That's
this 70 times 7 state of being.
But it's going to God. What do you do with those feelings? I'm ticked off, so I'm angry, and my reaction humanly is I want to come back to you and make you pay. But if I am making the decision to forgive, then where do I go with it? So how do I go to
And the
Christ?
question is someone who hurts me again and again. So it's not just one pain back here, but the pain comes again and again, and the person keeps behaving in the same way.
And a big dose of wisdom needs to come in.
Going back to God is, then God says, yeah, but you know, you blew this yesterday, and you blew it today, and you blew it the day before. Well, how do you want me to respond to you? And you go, okay, I got it.
All right, so we have the model from God.
And what gets us back to this place that you're both speaking of has to be the cross. It gets back to the realizing He did this.
Right.
And because if I don't empty myself, my flesh, my pride, of saying, I'm not going to forgive that person.
Right.
They did this to me. And that so quickly wells up within all of us.
My thinking is, somebody who is not a Christian, who has nothing to do with the Bible or Christianity, nothing like that. And I'm saying is that if they just begin to understand by giving up and forgiving and let go of bitterness can bring peace of mind and wholesomeness and even physical healing, there is a felt need that we all have for, you know, instead of trying to curse them into death, say, you know, I'm going to let go because I need that. But honestly, to really forgive in the real sense, people need to know the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ.
KP, I just don't think people, you can psych it, you can say you're going to gain benefit from it. You can go to some, you know, secular shrink who's going to say, well, if you forgive, and to some degree there's a beginning there.
Level,
But 7 times 70, no, that's supernatural.
The state of being. Now, so far we've been talking about our need to forgive others. What about God's forgiveness of us? We have another question. Let's listen up.